I'm Teresa Henderson. I'm the associate editor as well as the photo editor for the Halitorium yearbook. So we're going to talk about where to stand during sports. First off, we'll talk about tennis. Sitting with tennis, you can't really stand in the court sometimes. Some coaches will, some coaches won't. So when you're not standing in the court, you need to stand, your length needs to be on the fence actually. And you need to stand shooting, actually seeing our players and not the backs of their heads. As well, like with shooting baseball, you can actually go in the dugout if you ask the coaches. A lot of them won't care and they'll let you go back there. And you just shoot that way, or if you're not shooting that way and you want to shoot through the fence, you have to put your lens up against the fence. With shooting sports with fences, you use a 70 or 200 because they'll give you the good amount of focus length to actually capture the movement in the players' faces. Always capture faces. That's the most important thing you should know about photography. Faces tell story, not backs of people's heads. And don't capture butt because that's just weird and we don't put that in the yearbook. Nextly, when shooting football, you can stand on the sidelines. Players like to group together during football. You can just literally ask them like move out your way and they'll move and have room for you and you just shoot it. You need to move with the football field. Don't just stand in one place. Unlike with football, with soccer, when shooting soccer, you can stand literally in one place. Pick a place, stay there because the goalie will move from the other side. So you get the goalie, we also get the players shooting scores. So that's an easy thing with soccer. And with soccer, you actually need to like capture the ball in the photo. That's the most important thing. And watch out for players because players will come towards you, and that happens a lot. You will get hit by a ball if you don't watch during this game. Oh, volleyball. Oh yeah, that's one. With volleyball, you need to stand at the court. Like that little net thing, stand there because you're shooting volleyball. Shoot our players. Get their faces. It's not that hard. Do not shoot upstairs. Unless you're like, I need a whole team as a picture, then go upstairs. But you need to stay on the ground, because that's the best way to take volleyball. You can shoot over the net from like behind our opponents to get their faces when they're jumping up to catch the balls. But for the most part, you're shooting actually at the net where the referee stands. Best way to get photos for volleyball. During basketball, you're standing, so the court has corners, those 4 corners things. You need to pick one of those corners and just stand there on the side that we're shooting basketball. Another place to stand, according to your editor-elect and future editor of the yearbook, Annie, and like every other role in yearbook, stand underneath the basketball hoop because they're going to be shooting their free throws. It's a great way to capture them during shooting their free throws, which is really great. Oh, and then you're shooting basketball vertical. You can shoot horizontal, but the best way to shoot basketball is vertical. The best way to shoot baseball is probably horizontal. Best way to shoot soccer is both ways. It's very versatile. Best way to shoot tennis is probably more vertical. So you guys get the ball and the player together. In any sport that has a ball, capture the ball because the ball is the most important thing. And don't cut off their heads because you can't really cut off important limbs. So like if they're like using their hands during the game, you need to have their hands. If the ball, see the ball, their feet, like with soccer, you need to show their feet. Like you can't cut off those important limbs. Oh, and then with swim. Swim games are not here. We don't have a swimming thing. We're not that rich, sorry. So you have to go to the rug plugs for the most part. And with the rug plugs, you can only stand in certain places. So the place you're probably mostly gonna stand is underneath the diving boards when you're shooting swim. And it's really dark underneath there. You'll have like a lot of people crowding there. You're gonna like ask people to move, and you can just shoot there. You're gonna have your settings a little bit higher because it is dark there. And shoot our players. Don't shoot if they're in like lane like 1 on the opposite side. Don't shoot that because you're not gonna get a close picture of them. You need to shoot when they're like the lanes closest to you, because they will be in those lanes eventually, or just like switch sides if you're not blocking the judges' faces. I'll say lacrosse is pretty much like a mashup of like soccer and football. You can move with them. You move with lacrosse, but you also need to make sure you capture everything that's going on in lacrosse, like the ball, their nets. Like it's really like, awkward in a way, so you just need to capture that. During pep assemblies, it's probably pep assemblies and like halftime football shows. Probably when you're gonna catch the cheerleaders and Golden Girls. you're gonna stand at the 50-yard line. You stand there, you shoot there, you'll get everything you need from that point, from that spot. With shooting marching band, you have three important things in shooting marching band. You have the drum major standing on the towers, you have the pit standing with their instruments, and you have the actual marching band standing on the field. You have to capture all three of those things because they're all part of that sport. You can't just focus on the field. And you pretty much need to stand in one spot off to the side and capture the cart, capture the pit, the drum major, and the field perfectly. So it's off, you'll see off to the side, to the left or right, it doesn't really matter where you stand, just off to the side a little bit. Wrestling. Wrestling is awful, not going to lie. You have to sit on the floor at wrestling. There's no other option of where you're going to sit. You have to sit on the floor in front of the mat. And you have to capture their faces, which you have to just wait for a moment. You're probably going to get more photos when you actually need them than like moving around, but you're going to have to do that because it is the most important thing you can do to capture their face. So you just keep shooting. Don't let go of your shutter. With shooting sports, if the sport has really fast movement like soccer and lacrosse, your shutter speed needs to be at least over 1/500 because it's going to be the best way to like slow down the motion. And then to ensure you blur the background of sports, your f-stop needs to be as low as possible. That will be the best way to make sure the background is completely blurred out. And our gym lighting sucks, especially in a small gym. So if you have the option to, you can shoot in RAW and change the color. But if you're just gonna, I honestly wouldn't shoot in RAW for most sports. I would just go back and edit it. Would probably be the best way. And just make it a little bit lighter than what it needs to be, because you always it's easier to edit a photo when it's underexposed than overexposed, because it's harder making a dark photo lighter. It's a lot easier making a light photo darker.